Hello, everybody. Welcome to the November 19th Mobility and Access Coalition meeting. Thank you so much for joining us today. Next slide. Just a little reminder, I know that we're all old pros at the Zoom meetings, but you can either launch the Zoom meeting in your browser or in the app. And it'll give you the option when it first comes up. Next slide. This is how you would join from your browser. Next slide. Also, when you registered for this meeting, you got a one-tap option. So if you're having technology challenges and you need to switch to just audio, you can go ahead and join from your phone using that one-click option. Next slide. And just a reminder that we are recording this meeting. Video does help with communication for folks when they're speaking. So we just ask that you come off camera or come on camera if you're saying something, if you can do that. Also, we ask that you mute yourself when you're not speaking so that we can focus on the presenters. At this point, can you please type in the chat your name and your organization? This helps us with meeting minutes to be able to know like who's in the call. So you can go ahead and click on that. And then additionally, if you want to see who else is in the meeting, you can always click on participants and see who else is on the call. Next slide. And just a reminder that the Mobility and Access Coalition really centers transportation as essential to accessing equity. To being equitable, it helps people access opportunity, improve their quality of life, and meet all of their basic needs. We really try to ensure that people have multimodal transportation options so that they're in the safe and thriving areas of self-sufficiency. And it's just really important to do that ecosystem approach when we talk about transportation. Next slide. So here's our agenda. We're going to start with some updates, and then we have three presentations that we'll be able to go over. And then also just a reminder that we are going to cancel the December MAC meeting. So we'll be meeting on January 21st, and we have a new registration link. So I'll go ahead and share that with you at the end of the meeting. But we'll go ahead and get started with our updates. Next slide. Great. So we have some staffing changes here at Mobility for All, and we've decided that we're going to put the MAC newsletter on hold. We're just trying to reshuffle and see like what is worth like our return on investment. And since our bilingual newsletter reaches more people and has more engagement, we decided that that's going to be the newsletter that we will continue to publish. So I just wanted to let you all know that we will be sending out the follow-up newsletter for the MAC this month, but that'll be the last one that we do. So just keep an eye out. You'll have the option of subscribing to the Mobility for All bilingual newsletter in its place. That one will focus on transportation updates like it always does, but it won't focus as much on those professional like webinars and studies and things like that that we've been including in the MAC newsletter. So I just want to thank you all for reading the newsletters. They are a lot of effort to put together, and we just appreciate any feedback that you have on how we can improve our communication to ensure everybody's up to date on the most recent transportation information. Any questions about the newsletter and the decision to go down to one newsletter? Okay, great. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Steph to give the update about the Dr. Mac annual meeting. Stephanie?
Yeah, thanks, Angel. Yeah, hi everyone. Just wanted to mention that Dr. Mack will be hosting our annual meeting on December 2nd. It also happens to be our 20th anniversary celebration, so very exciting. Can't believe it's been 20 years of Dr. Mack, but everyone is invited. It's technically an RCC meeting, so everyone, Regional Coordinating Council meeting, so everyone's invited. It'll be virtual on December 2nd from 1:30 to 3 on Zoom. So I can put the registration for that meeting in the chat if anyone's interested. But yeah, and also if anyone has any stories or pictures that they want to share that they've had with Dr. Mack over the last 20 years, you can email them to me or our general info email that I can also put in the chat. But yeah, looking forward to having everyone there.
That's wonderful. It seems like just yesterday that we were celebrating the 15-year anniversary. So it's hard to believe 20 years of the Getting There Guide, and just acknowledging that transportation navigation has been a major issue for folks. So thank you for the role that you all play in the region, helping connect people with options that meet their needs. Okay, next slide. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Elaine, who's going to give an overview of the GoTober effort. Elaine?
Yeah, hi everyone, and thank you, Angel. So GoTober is an annual challenge that we offer. We have a network called My Way to Go where people can log trips, so anybody could use it. And we have a number of businesses using the platform, but we had 12 businesses throughout Boulder signing up to participate. And interesting this year, none of our companies won, but they all did well in logging trips. I think only one business this year said, hey, we're going to do it, and then did no trips, which we had a few of those last year. So like the Pet Sustainability Coalition of Boulder was first last year, but they came in second this year. I will give credit. One of the organizations that I thought had some of the most success was Boulder County. So thank you, the team here, because you were largely responsible for getting trips logged and registered. And just kudos to Melissa, because out of coordinators, I found her just very engaged in talking to different departments, because part of our work is definitely enhanced when we have a liaison at a business who can help promote the variety of trips that people take. So Boulder County came in fourth this year, which was one of the best that they'd ever done. And on our side, I even had my team participating in registering trips, which is really good, because while Transportation Connections, it's really a small group within the Boulder Chamber, it gave the opportunity for us to have the rest of our staff understanding all of the different things we're promoting, whether it's telework, biking, using e-scooters or whatever. And one of my colleagues told me how much he enjoyed logging his trips to get the data on his commute, the impacts for the environment, the savings that one earns. So these are great opportunities through that. And through this medium, we can also help businesses get Colorado Clean Commute certification. So if you ever run into people for whom that would be appealing, big, great thing for them to consider, and they can reach out to us, Boulder Transportation Connections, for any of that kind of assistance and guidance, and just the certification and running campaigns through My Way to Go. Thanks.
Thank you. And I think Landon Hilliard was also an unofficial, like ETC, he was promoting it internally.
I knew I could trust Landon.
Yeah, I know, he was holding us accountable here, but I think the big impact, I think once we told everybody that they could log their telecommute options, that's when I think we really started racking up the credits, the trips. So just a reminder to all of the organizations, like you compete against somebody who's within your same size organization. So yeah, so if you have any nonprofits that haven't been participating in it, definitely think about it for next year. There's some cool prizes. Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you.
Thanks for the shout out. Be sure to pass it on to Melissa. She wasn't able to attend today, but next slide. Okay, oops, you want to go back? Or is this, are we Ruby Bridges? Okay. So we have two different Ruby Bridges updates. Amy, do you want to go first and just kind of give a roundup of like what you all did for Ruby Bridges Day last Friday?
Yeah, sure. So we had 8 BVSC schools participate this year, mostly elementary schools. And they kind of did a variety of things. For example, Lafayette Elementary, they all met at Festival Plaza and walked as a group. It's probably like 100 people walking, wearing purple. They had the pennants, that they were waving. So walking as a group, and then during the school day, kids were rewarded Purple Hearts if they did something kind or brave. And if the school gave out 150 hearts on Friday to kids, the principal was going to wear a purple wig on Monday. So I haven't checked in to see if that happened. At Whittier, they made signs during the school day, and then they did a walk like during the school day around the school. There were discussions and writings, yeah, they read books. At Douglas, same thing. They did a walk around the school during the school day. And then Ruby became part of the Be the Change discussion that they had at the school. And then Mesa Elementary, they had 3 different neighborhood groups walk in, and then everyone met at the school. And they also had Minister Glinda Robinson, a civil rights leader from Longmont, come and talk to kids. So amazing day.
That's wonderful. And do you just want to give a brief description of what Ruby Bridges is? I think that we all know, but I don't know, just in case.
I jumped ahead there. So she, as a 6-year-old in 1960, was the first African-American student to integrate an all-white elementary school in New Orleans. She was faced with like menacing crowds and had to be escorted by federal marshals to school, but it's because of her that we have integrated schools today.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
And then I know that Felipe also hosted an event, so I'll turn it over to him to provide an update.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Amy. Yeah, Mobility for All, we hosted an event last Friday at the Boulder Public Library. And it was great. It was, a really good group of people that came together from families, teenagers, adults. And it was a hybrid of having, a bit of arts and crafts, a bit of book readings. Joseph, who's here also, was doing some book readings for families and kids, but also a combination of having these restorative justice and social justice discussions in these restorative circles that Bright Collaborative put together from Longmont. And so it was not only a day of honoring Ruby Bridges and Safe Routes to School, but also really of bringing vulnerability, bringing connection into these circles in our community in terms of, what it meant to remember Ruby Bridges and how we related to her struggle as well as where we are today in terms of today's political, social climates. And so it was really, again, really community building experience. I was really great for that. And yeah, it was I think it was a really heartwarming event that we had.
Great. Thank you, Felipe. And I know that Amy, I think I told you this, but there were some of your students that had attended Ruby Bridges events at school, and they knew all about Ruby Bridges. So we had one little girl in the younger kid section who was just telling us all about Ruby Bridges. So it had an impact. So thank you. And so as far as next year, I know that Ruby Bridges is going to be on Ruby Bridges Day, the 14th of November is going to be on a Saturday. So I think, Amy, we'd love to talk to see what your approach is going to be next year, just to make sure that we can coordinate. But yeah, thank you for both having a great impact on school, transportation, and racial equity in Boulder County. Next slide. So just wanted to remind y'all that the Linking Boulder County Transit Needs Survey is still open. It closes tomorrow. Currently, we don't have a proportional amount of youth who have taken the survey, so kids under 17. And then also Latino Latinx communities are also around 7% of the respondents, and they make up more of the population. So we're trying to do some targeted outreach. So if you all could encourage the people in your lives and networks to take the survey, I'll put it in the chat here. That would be wonderful. We have 800 respondents so far. So that's a good amount. And this will basically lay the foundation for what recommendations we have, because it's identifying what needs we have in the community right now. There are two interactive maps. So there's one interactive map where you can put where you currently take transit, and then one where you can put where you wish you could take transit. So it also has like, I mean, the actual survey itself doesn't take too long to take, but if you want to spend a lot of time putting all those like pins in the map, it might take a little bit longer. So probably 15 minutes if you just have a couple of pins that you want to put on the maps. Any questions about that survey? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put in the chat the link when we get to the next slide. So thank you so much for taking the survey. Next slide. Okay, at this point, we're gonna open it up to other folks to be able to give their updates. Does anybody have an update that they want to share with the group before we get into our presentations? I see Annette's on the call. Do you have any peak-to-peak updates that you would like? Or, yeah.
I actually don't. Tom is getting ready to travel the world next year, and he has not passed on yet to me. So I'm assuming I'll be joining you guys for next year.
Okay, that sounds
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, and so Annette, you're gonna be are you the sole chair of the Peak to Peak Housing and Human Services Alliance now that Tom's stepping out?
The Alliance membership will vote on December 11th about who will be chair and vice chair and make some plans for 2026.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that I will still be involved in I will still be volunteering a lot.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, and the shuttle up here is down to, there's no Saturdays because that funding had gone away, and so we're down to weekdays again for that.
And
Oh, I did want to ask, and it may not be appropriate at this meeting, but I should clarify where the schedule is posted and if VIA or the county has links to the old Peak to Peak Transportation website. Those are not active. It's only listed on the Alliance's webpage right now.
Okay, then that's specifically for the mountain rides service.
Okay.
We can definitely, I think we can definitely connect to see like where it should be posted. So we'll
Okay.
double check all of ours and make sure that it's going to the right location. Thank you.
Great.
Great. Wade, do you have any updates for the older adult services for the city of Boulder?
Hello, I can't
Hi.
get to work here.
Yeah.
No, not anything too specific from us on our end. It's just been nice again. A lot of folks have been very happy with VIA being free. We get a lot of folks that have said that, so that's very helpful for a lot of our folks on very limited and fixed incomes.
Yeah, that's great. Great to hear that feedback. Okay. I don't know if I know that there's a couple people from RTD. I don't know if you have any other updates.
None from me.
Thank you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My
Hi.
name is Denise Colon. I am the program technician for the Access on Demand program with RTD. We do have a few updates regarding changes starting for January 1st. There will be a fare instituted now. Currently, we cover the first $25 of that fare. But starting January 1st, the customer would be responsible for either $4.50 or $2.25 if they are a part of the Live discount program. The subsidy will be $20 and not $25. We still will keep the 60 trips a month, which everyone is used to. There are an hours between the hours of 1:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. The subsidy will not work. And customers are now able to add an additional destination, whereas before they could not.
So they can do the short stops. Is that what
Yes,
you're talking
yes.
about? Okay, wonderful.
Yes, but just
Yeah.
keep in mind with those stops, wait fees do apply to that. After about 2 to 3 minutes, the wait fees will start to accrue. The drivers can leave after 5 minutes. So just make sure that customers are aware that that is something. And so that second destination needs to be something quick. Well, the first one rather needs to be something quick so they can get back to their next destination.
That's wonderful. So, and I don't know, like Shanice, I know that we were, am I pronouncing your name right? Sorry. Okay, Shanice. So I know that we had scheduled you all for a presentation.
Yeah.
Is that the information that you were sharing, or do you have something else that you were?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, wonderful. So, just to kind of recap, so when was the date that they're gonna start charging the money up front? Like what's the
January 1st.
January 1st, okay. And I know that Erin had talked about how people who are on Access on Demand were gonna have to reapply for the service. Have
Yes.
you all like started promoting that to the current writers?
Yes, so we did send out some letters. There was an IVR message as well as emails that were sent out. The re-enrollment period started November 3rd. And so customers are able to do that online on the Access on Demand website. And then we're also accepting phone calls so that we can send those paperwork mailed for those who need that.
Okay, wonderful. And I do know that we've been working with John from RTD to be able to host a lunch and learn. So for all of you who serve people who might depend on Access on Demand, Sarah's been working on scheduling a January lunch and learn with RTD and Denver Human Services to talk about how to sign up for RTD Live. We know that a lot of people with disabilities get bus passes from like Imagine or A&I Avenues. And so we know that some people who are eligible for Live aren't already signed up. So we're going to try to spread the word about signing up for Live so that people who are dependent on Access on Demand can get that discount up front. Sarah, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I had a question, Shanice. I was curious if you knew anything about with that wait time fee that starts to accrue. Do you know if that's covered? So say like it's a quick stop and then like whatever the trip is below, it's below $22 or whatever it is. It's so like we
So if
wouldn't
I think I
pay-
understand what you're saying. So so if
Uh-huh.
the wait fee is within the $20 that we cover after the
Correct.
customer pays their $4.50 or their $2.25, the voucher, the subsidy will cover it. But if
Cool.
it's after that, the customer will be responsible for it.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I've
Mhm.
had a couple of Lyft rides where it's like I get a 10-cent charge or something. And
Okay, so that is
why that
actually
is.
what you can do is you can remove that permanently and they'll refund that. That's a wait fee. Lyft has it in their help section to remove wait fees for customers who have disabilities or elderly. So you can go ahead and have them remove that and then you won't see it anymore.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I've done that and it's
Mhm.
I'm still getting it. So maybe I'll try and remove it. I mean, 10
If you can
cents.
send me like
But
once this is over, we can chat separately and you can send me some stuff and we can troubleshoot to see.
okay, would that email for you, Shanice, would that be access on demand at
Yes.
rtddenver.org? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I put in the chat the wait time fee waivers in case you have any clients that need extra time and want to fill that out. Thanks, Sarah. I know that short trip stop is definitely going to be welcomed for people who need to drop off their kids or need to go to the post office. So thank you all for including that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Additionally, if you all have clients who need extra assistance signing up for RTD Live in order to get that discount up front, we will be hosting 2 hands-on workshops with the Center for People with Disabilities in February and March, like one at the Longmont office and one at the Boulder office. We'll include those in our newsletter. But we're going to have somebody from Denver Human Services that will help walk people through how to sign up. So we want to provide as many opportunities as possible for people who have access on demand to reduce that cost up front.
Yeah, that's the 26th of February, and the 19th of March.
Great.
And
And then
that-
the date of the lunch and learn as well?
That's the 15th of January.
Oh, 15th of January. Great.
Mhm.
If you wouldn't mind putting those in the chat, that would be helpful, Sarah.
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other updates? Let me look through the group here. Does Via have any updates, Adriana?
Hi, everyone. No updates for now other than we did start utilizing AI to help us cancel trips and for trip information, and we're working on helping Alex is our AI voice agent to start being able to schedule trips as well. But so far we're still working on it.
Great, thank you. I saw that Cami hopped on. Cami, I don't know if you want to talk about your Day of Remembrance or Ruby Bridges event that you all hosted.
Hi, yeah, thanks. So we did have a World Day of Remembrance event earlier in the month. It was the first Wednesday of the month, not actually on the day of, which was this past Sunday. It was at the Longmont Museum, and Commissioner Claire Levy came and spoke, which was wonderful. And we had a number of wonderful speakers. And then I know City of Boulder also had their event, if someone isn't here to talk about that. But those have been the two local regional ones. Denver has often also done one, but they didn't do one this year. So we were the two closest events. And that was really just to honor and recognize the lives lost to fatal and serious injury crashes and those that are survivors of those serious crashes. And then a call to action is really around coming up in 2026. One of the things that Bicycle Colorado called was that there could be possible legislation around increasing the severity of penalties that happens when someone does kill someone on the road. Because right now it is a misdemeanor, and often the max jail time might be a year. And so they're looking to get that changed. So I think there might be some potential advocacy options coming up in 2026 in the next legislative session around how fatal crashes are treated in the legal system.
All right, thank you. Okay, did you have any updates for the Ruby Bridges, or did you, it's,
No.
yeah, it's fine.
Sorry
I know I
about
didn't
that.
tell you in advance, but.
Yeah. We weren't able to do this just with the hiring challenges and capacity challenges. We weren't able to do one locally this year.
Okay, that sounds good. Great. If there's no more updates, we'll go ahead and move on. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, I saw Jacqueline on the call. So I know that we had talked about having you give a presentation. So there's a new TMO, Transportation Management Organization, called Go 34. No, it's Go No Go 34. So you can go ahead and stop sharing the screen, Joseph. Okay, and then Jacqueline, I'll turn it over to you for your presentation.
Thank you, Angel. I am not versed in sharing screens on Zoom, so just let me know if I'm doing it correctly.
You can go ahead and push in the bottom right hand corner. There's kind of like a little square that has like a stand underneath it, like a pole.
Yep.
Go ahead and click on that and it will be in presentation mode for you.
I think I did that. Are you able to see my screen at all?
We can see your screen. We just can't, it's in like the PowerPoint mode. It's not in presentation mode.
Well, that's fun. Okay, let's see. Did that work?
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Look at that. We can be taught. Okay. Well, thanks so much for having me, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Streeter. I am the Executive Director of the Go No Go 34 TMO. We are the newest, also the one and only transportation management organization in the North Front Range. I do have a couple colleagues on the call, so hello. and I'm sure you're all familiar with what transportation management organizations do, but we're going to give a little recap. And again, thanks for having us. We're honored to be here. We'll go over our project history, the TMO history, the background. I do have a couple of discussion questions. If you don't feel comfortable discussing right now, my information will be at the end of this presentation. Please feel free to email me any questions if you don't feel like speaking today. So a bit of a project background and why the TMO was created. We were an initiative of the Metropolitan Planning Organization in the North Front Range. We were identified as part of their 2050 Regional Transportation Plan, specifically part of their TDM Action Plan, was to create a transportation management organization along the US 34 corridor. In case you're not familiar with the geographic location of the US 34 corridor, we cover 2 counties, Larimer and Weld, all the way from the town of Estes Park to the town of Kersey. So we have quite a lot of geographic area to cover. We also have lots of major arterials, such as I-25 and 287, following all the way up to pretty much Fort Collins. We just don't go all the way up there. Little bit of our history and what we've been up to since launch. Our TMO officially launched Winter Bike to Work Day of 2025. So we're still pretty new and green. We have delivered lots of presentations like this one. We created our first annual Bike to Work Day Superstation at the Centera Mobility Hub off I-25. We are currently in our first annual commuter survey. We've hosted lots of events, kicked off a commute ambassador program, which is very much like a mobility committee. We've created several communications and marketing, design, and promotions. We do have a current newsletter that we release every quarter as well. We do have a membership base. Through that membership base of our TMO operations, we've hosted 11 of our monthly board meetings. Currently, we have 15 members in monthly attendance. Since launch, we've welcomed 4 new members and 4 new sponsors through our outreach and engagement. And we're also able to collaborate with the US 34 Coalition and US 34 Tech to identify where the TMO can be most effective. Currently, we obviously have a sustainable funding issue as well as everyone else most likely on this call. And we're always looking for more funding opportunities in order to keep our operations going. So currently we engage with the MPO and with CDOT to identify new funding sources. And in order to stay efficient and relevant, we really focus on growing our membership base and our sponsorship opportunities. We also focus on community engagement, much like we're doing right now. Since we are so new, we welcome all opportunities to engage with community partners, regional stakeholders, and potential new members. Our focus, just like Elaine from BCT, we're dedicated to improving mobility, reducing congestion, and promoting sustainable transportation along the US 34 corridor. We collaborate with businesses, public agencies, stakeholder groups, and a lot of the Northern Colorado mobility committees as well, to just educate and share our resources and programming. We do focus on outreach of events. It's really the way that we get out into the community. Since February, the TMO have partnered with lots of members, large employers, community organizations, to offer a variety of events along the corridor. We also host monthly lunch and learns with our existing members. And here's a list of additional events that we've hosted along the corridor. So here's kind of the discussion portion of the presentation. And again, if you don't feel comfortable speaking up or you want to put it in the chat, or again, if you don't feel comfortable doing either one of those, you can feel free to email me after. But a lot of what our TMO focuses on is breaking down barriers and creating resources for accessibility. So really what we kind of want to know is what's the most important transportation issue that affects your community, and how can TMOs like the US 34 TMO help support the organizations on the call?
Right. So I guess I can start us off just to maybe see if
Perfect.
others will chime in afterwards. I think the cost of living in Boulder County is probably one of the most important transportation issues because people are commuting farther and farther from where they work if they are commuting. Some people can telecommute. So I think that's really the issue that we found as an employer for Boulder County, right? We have more people living in Larimer, Weld County, Adams, Jeffco, and even Denver. So yeah, that's the biggest issue is those longer commute times.
Do you have any data that's kind of Boulder County specific that shows how many commuters you have coming from NOCO?
I will have to check on the transportation. So we have a TMP report on progress, and I believe we have some data there. But I remember when we had our TMP that was adopted in 2020, the beginning of 2020, we knew that a third of the traffic on 119, State Highway 119, was originating in Larimer and Weld County. So that was pretty significant, and we got that data from like streetlight data, like it's basically cell phone data.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that since 2020 with the telework option, like even more people have moved farther out, but we can share that as soon as we
That'd be great. And another great resource to share regionally, like Elaine stated for the GoTober challenge, is that ride matching platform on My Way to Go. It's extended into Northern Colorado under the Ride NOCO moniker. And that should be able to have Boulder County and NOCO speak to each other. So you should be able to see all of the available van pools and carpools and the ride matching offerings on those websites. So maybe that could be a solution.
Yeah, wonderful. That's great.
Thank you for sharing, Angel.
Yeah, no problem.
And I can back up what Angel's saying. We are astounded at how many more in-commuters we have coming from Fort Collins, Loveland, and Greeley that, I think about my early days in Boulder, and it was long for somebody to come from just Longmont or Meade into Boulder, but people are having to live farther away because, as mentioned, that the housing has just made it very much more complicated.
Yeah, I think it would be really beneficial, Elaine, to kind of get you and me and Audrey and everyone in the same room, I think, to kind of beef up those offerings on My Way to Go and to see what we can do regionally, especially with all the construction on 119. I think it would be hugely beneficial to have a regional connection.
Yeah, Carson too.
And Carson as well, exactly. Yeah.
Great.
I just, this is Melanie Sloan with the City of Boulder. I just dropped in a link to the City of Boulder's 22 Boulder Valley Employee Survey for Transportation. There's some discussion there about commuting and some of the trends that, like Angel mentioned and you and Elaine were just talking about. So that's also a resource you might want to look at, Jacqueline.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And Melanie, it looks like I'm getting cookies are not enabled for this website. Is that something that's behind your engagement sign in?
Well, it could be because I'm signed into the city, but it should be available. It came out of this press release. Sorry to overload the chat. It's the that link that I sent first, Angel, is the first link within this press release in my second post. Are you able to get to it through that?
Yeah, it comes up when I click it from the press release.
Sorry about that. I don't know if I can actually I can't delete my prior posts. Everybody who's paying attention, that second link is where you want to go. Sorry about the confusion.
No worries. Okay, great. Does anybody else? I know that we have, we have a couple of other folks that might want. Joe, I know from Commuting Solutions. I don't know if you have anything to add about commuting patterns after COVID or what Commuting Solutions is dealing with.
Yeah, thanks, Angel. I would reiterate what you said actually, is like the number of people who have to commute into Boulder or the other outlying communities in Boulder County from outside of Boulder County. I think due to the cost of living, that's probably one of the bigger issues affecting transportation in the area. And yeah, Audrey is out of the office right now, but I'm 100% certain she would be interested in working with Boulder County and the other TMOs on ways that we can beef up the My Way to Go efforts.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jacqueline. Did you have other slides that you wanted to go over or
I
anything
think that, yeah, I think I have one more. But I appreciate everyone's candor on the discussion. Those points sometimes land, sometimes they don't. So I appreciate it. So a couple ways that you can engage with our TMO. I know that you're very familiar with BCTC and Commuting Solutions. So it's very much the same information. It's just Northern Colorado specific for us. So engaging with us is always welcomed. If you have a regional stakeholder group that you're a part of, or you have a connection that you think would be beneficial for us, maybe you have access to an employer in Northern Colorado, or another mobility committee, we would love to present. So please feel free to, follow us on social, grab my information on the next slide, reach out. It's just me. I'm a one-man show, so you'll always get me. But we would love to be part of your presentation calendar or come and speak at an in-person event. I'm mobile, so happy to do it. We also have a TMO newsletter that I discussed in previous slides. We release that every quarter. We are happy to cross-collaborate regionally, feature other entities and committees and programs outside of Northern Colorado to really secure that regional stakeholder group. Again, we have a membership base, so if you know anybody who would like to become a member, we won't turn anybody away, or a donator or a sponsor. And again, we are on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We're very, very active on LinkedIn since that really does target the employer groups and the regional stakeholder groups. And my information is on this last slide. Again, honored to be here. Thank you, Angel, for inviting me to present. Happy to continue the conversation with anyone who needs it.
Great, thank you. So Annette does have a question about any data from Estes Park to Lyons. I know that's like Highway 36. It's not 34. So do you know if North Front Range has any data?
I can absolutely reach out to the MPO to see if there is any related data. 36 is 34 adjacent. So it's how I get up to Estes Park. Sure, it's how lots of other people do as well if you're not going off Mall Road. But yeah, I can absolutely reach out. Annette, feel free to send me an email so that I can reach out to the MPO and then reach back out to you. If there is available data, I'm happy to share that with you.
Okay, I just know that the Lyons isn't here. There was a scenic byway group that was meeting along the Peak to Peak too, and I'm not sure if they interface with Larimer County and up into Estes Park that way too. So, I mean, if you did want to have contact with them, I could reach out. I think I know a couple people on that group.
Yeah, any connections are welcome. Like I said, we've only launched, we're less than a year old. So we're just kind of getting our feet underneath us and, figuring out where we fit in and who we can serve. And, the more people that know us, the better. I've yet to walk into a room or a group presentation where someone has heard of us. So the more the merrier.
Okay, thanks.
And I do want to thank Adriana Torres for introducing us. I know that she attends both like the Northern Colorado coordinating councils and this one. So I know that she had that cross region connection. So thank you, Adriana.
Oh, yes, thank you. And I'm going to jump to another meeting, but thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so Melanie, I think you're next up since we already had the presentation update from Shanice. So I will turn it over to you.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and rearrange my windows and get started. Okay, you able to see that? Excellent, thanks. Okay, just a first caveat. I am still recovering from a cold, mostly there, but a little bit of a cough and hoarse throat. So if at any time it's not clear or you can't understand me, pipe in, interrupt me at any point in time with questions as well. I just am here to provide a brief update, but really always interested in conversation with the group. So please do chime in if you can, if you need me to repeat or if you have a question. So to introduce, I'm Melanie Sloan, Principal Project Manager in the City of Boulder's Transportation and Mobility Department. Happy to be here to share an update on our Transportation and Mobility Department's ADA transition plan. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about this plan update. But I want to start by saying that in the City of Boulder, we believe that mobility for people of all abilities is a fundamental right. And we strive to provide a transportation system with a variety of safe, accessible, and sustainable travel options that connect people with each other and with the places they want to go. And we do this because we believe it builds a stronger community in which everyone has a sense of belonging. And at the city level, we are also concurrent at this point in time undertaking a citywide approach to accessibility. And so on the screen here, you'll see two things. What we always do and provide as an opportunity to connect with people living with disabilities and ensure that they're not discriminated based on their disability status and access or use and benefit of any of our services, programs, or activities across the city. And this is not just around transportation and mobility. The ADA coordinator for the City of Boulder has participated in the MAC before, Wendy Littman. You can reach Wendy through this phone number and email address, and that's for anything generally related to accessibility across the city. But also, Wendy is leading a citywide ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. So this is looking across all departments and city programs and services. So this is a little different than what I'm going to present an update on, but I want to acknowledge it's ongoing because, again, many in this meeting and the agencies participating today have had conversations with the broader citywide self-evaluation and transition plan. So appreciate your participation on that. It's ongoing and, again, led by our ADA coordinator. But what I am going to talk about today is the Transportation and Mobility Department's ADA transition plan. And so, you know, while I mentioned a moment ago, we at the city are committed to ensuring people of all abilities have safe, accessible, and sustainable transportation options. And we put that into our transportation master plan, and we've advanced it in our work plans because we really want to make sure people living with disabilities can move safely and conveniently around our city, but we're also required to do this. And so the Americans with Disability Act specifically requires that agencies with 50 or more employees, which the City of Boulder does have, review our, that we have this responsibility over our streets and sidewalks and other programs. And so we must complete a self-evaluation and create a transition plan. And that's all to make sure we understand what our gaps and challenges are and create steps that we take action towards to achieve those accessibility goals. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And so back in 2018, a former colleague of mine, who many of you probably know, Jenny, began the ADA, the Transportation and Mobility ADA self-evaluation. And that was around looking at existing conditions of transportation and mobility, both systems and programs, including conversations with the community to understand directly from people who are moving around our city what those accessibility challenges might be. What you can see here is an example of those conversations we had. This is member Judy Dixon from the Boulder County chapter of the National Federation of the Blind. We did focus groups, experiential events, and popped up in a lot of community conversations. And organizations to learn about the community's experience moving around our city. And that ADA self-evaluation was completed in 2021. And the feedback that I just mentioned, that really informed the next step and what I'm about to talk about, which is the ADA transition plan. So what did we hear about in the self-evaluation? Well, the community feedback let us know that we have 5 main barriers to accessibility in the city: weather related, that ability to move around regardless of the season; transit related, that opportunity to access transit for, and specifically to destinations like senior centers and other areas of the transportation system; as well as safety, feeling that sharing space with faster modes, whether they're cars or people on bicycles, felt unsafe; and that being able to cross the street to reach destinations or perhaps transit stops and other transportation options felt unsafe, as well as our sidewalks needing repair and maintenance to make them less of a barrier, whether they're upheavals and trip hazards or driveway curb cuts that present challenges as people move around our city. And we also found that we had some gaps and challenges. And so we learned through our analysis and community feedback that designs were inconsistent, and also that implementation of accessible facilities, especially when we are closing for events or construction, it just was not a consistent experience. We also had gaps in communication and engagement, and we needed to involve people in the disability community more in our project planning and policy updates, as well as provide more consistent information around things like those event closures and detours. We also learned that we needed to track our data and monitor our progress better. We didn't have a central way to really review and assess our progress on our ADA accessibility changes. And we also didn't inventory our ADA infrastructure. So are our transit stops accessible, for example? And that was found to be lacking. And then when it came time to actually being able to implement, there were some challenges around funding and prioritization. And so we identified a way that we needed to consider how we fund and how we accelerate implementation of accessibility improvements. So from that, an action plan was developed, and the action plan had 10 initiatives highlighted here. And the initiatives focused on organizing responses to those gaps and challenges I just reviewed. First and foremost are those infrastructure pieces, or what you would experience as curb ramps or sidewalks, transit stops, and other ways that you travel around our city, as well as an initiative for tracking what infrastructure is ADA compliant and what isn't, and also developing protocols and trainings to make sure that the infrastructure that is implemented is consistent across the city, as well as having consistent detours and event closures. We developed an initiative around historic preservation to balance accessibility in our historic designated neighborhoods in our city, and also methods for making sure we continue to talk to and listen to the disability community. And when we communicate, that our communications are accessible and digitally accessible also. We had initiatives working to identify funding for ADA compliance work, and that is so we can advance improvements faster. And finally, to meet those federal funding requirements under Title VI. So those are the 10 initiatives, but the ADA transition plan has 24 actions within those 10 initiatives. And I link those here so you can see that we have a set of things that we can do within each of those initiatives to advance and achieve the goals and fill those gaps and address those challenges identified in the self-evaluation. So here's a quick brief summary of those actions with those 24 actions. So we have about 8 that are completed, 5 in progress, 1 that's ongoing, and we have some that are not started or paused. And on this screen, I'm celebrating some of those successes of completed, in progress, or ongoing work, including things like developing and offering staff training on inclusive language in partnership with the Center for People with Disabilities, working with Boulder County to develop a grant funding list, working with our communications team to make sure we're compliant with Colorado's HB 21. That is the digital communications accessibility law that went into effect this summer. We also worked with our ADA liaison on tracking and logging non-compliance reports of accessibility barriers in the community we received from customer requests, as well as developing staff training on accessible designs and ongoing consultations with groups like the Center for People with Disabilities and National Federation of the Blind on new transportation designs. But I do also want to recognize that there are things that we haven't started or begun yet, and that is more work that's to be done. So things pretty substantial, like inventorying our transportation network, our thousands of curb ramps and miles of sidewalk, developing protocols and processes to inventory those, as well as developing the guidance for those accessible closures and detours. A longer term project is to reconsider programs we have that do repairs and ADA compliance work, like our annual sidewalk repair program, to figure out how we might accelerate the work and provide more funding to do that work by considering the homeowner's contribution. As well as things like ensuring our engagements and communications are accessible by creating possibly a checklist for accessible experiential events. So a bit more work to do, but a good amount of progress underway as well. And shown here is our continued commitment to work with the community to create our accessible transportation system in the city of Boulder. This picture is of members from both Center for People with Disabilities and the National Federation of the Blind. They spent time with us last year on 30th Street, south of Arapahoe Avenue, between Arapahoe Avenue and Colorado Avenue, to help us understand the best way to separate sidewalks and sidewalk level bike lanes. And so we consulted with them on a new design. We implemented a test scenario and invited them out to provide feedback on ways that we can improve the design so it's functional for people, in this case, with low vision. These design consultations are just one result of the action plan, but it's one that I'm very proud of, and it's a demonstrable action we are committed to, and that is partnership with the community to understand how they experience transportation and ensure we're building that accessible transportation program for them. So with that, I thank you for your time. This is my contact information. I do encourage you to reach out to me at any time, but I'm also happy to take questions at this time.
Great, thank you so much, Melanie. I can go ahead and get us started with questions. Well, first a comment. I love seeing the photos from those like walk audits. What is like the biggest, I see that there was like kind of a dividing line between the bike paths and the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Like, what was the biggest issue that low vision folks were struggling with that combined sidewalk multi-use path?
Yeah, and sorry, I'm fiddling around here. I'm not in presentation mode, but just so you can see the slide that Angel's referencing, I'm going to just share that screen really quickly so everybody's looking at the same. So this design, like I said, it's on 30th Street. It's south of Arapahoe Avenue. We're actually looking north in this picture to orient you on this stretch. And it's a constrained location, which means we didn't have a lot of space to put the sidewalk, the wider sidewalk the project built, as well as the sidewalk level bike lane, getting it out of the street next to cars. And so we had to find ways to separate the two. This is a space where I've been to some conferences recently and participate in webinars when they're offered, where the transportation design is still evolving. How do we separate these shared spaces in a way that's really functional and effective for all the travelers, including those like we see here with low vision? So I can tell you in this conversation, one of the things that was clearly helpful was the delineation with the wide strip. So the wider, the better was requested. So that yellow strip between the right, which is where the wide sidewalk is, and the left, which is where the sidewalk level bike lane is. That was asked to be as wide as possible. The contrasting color, of course, is helpful. And you can kind of see in this picture that there are these ridges. So there's some texture to it that runs parallel to the path of travel. Those were thought to be helpful. And the more prominent or the more proud, the more they stand up those ridges, the better for cane and foot detection for people with sight impairment. We did in the test that you don't see here, so concept ideas of would we just do a stamped concrete where we just put a texture into concrete as opposed to putting a strip of material like you see here. We went through a few ideas like that with both Center for People with Disabilities and National Federation of the Blind members before installing it here. And from that, we learned that just like texturing concrete was just not prominent enough. And so we ended up going with this. That's a long answer, but that's kind of the evolution.
Well,
of the
no,
thought
that's
there.
great. And I think like that lived experience, right, is
Mhm.
really instrumental. So I just want to applaud you for getting folks with disabilities involved in your like designing process.
Mhm.
I think another question that I've heard people talk about is like bus stop access after snow.
Mhm.
And I know you talked about this a little bit at the
Mhm.
CPWD meeting. So do you want to talk a little bit about the campaign that you all you don't have to like get into the details, but just that there
Yeah,
is a
that's okay.
campaign. Mhm.
So what Angel's referencing is, and you saw that in my presentation about some of the things we heard from the community when we did our self-evaluation between 2018 and 21. And that was that ability to move around and access whether transit stops or other destinations after snow and ice events. And so Angel referenced the transportation mobility team had a community conversation with Center for People with Disabilities. I guess a couple weeks ago already now. And one of my colleagues presented on our snow and ice response program. And that snow and ice response program developed a new system for prioritizing snow and ice after an event. And the event was really based on the size of the event. And when I say size, I'm going to share my screen again. Just to give this nice visual for people who haven't seen this presented before. So this is the storm response framework that the city developed. And again, there were consultations in the development of this program. This year will be the second year that this program is in place. Last year was the first winter that this guided the response efforts. What is on the screen is a matrix of definitions of what the size of event is based on how many inches of snow is received, and then how snow and ice response is prioritized. And so in the first column, a small event is up to 3 inches of snow. And our first priority are those high traffic streets where emergency response and protected bike lanes are. And the second priority are what are called crosstown bike routes or low stress walk and bike routes, as well as emergency response, heavily used alleys like you could imagine in our downtown area, as well as some steeply graded streets where just even a little bit of snow can make a difference in travel. And then the third priority are moderately steep streets. We also focus on our multi-use paths, and then we contract to shovel specific curb ramps, median islands, and high ridership bus stops. So that's trying to respond to that input we've received, and the most commonly used transit stops have connections to them that are to bare pavement within 12 hours of receiving that snow. The next column, we continue that commitment, but now we have more snow, and so our priorities change a little bit. In a medium snow and ice response, it's up to 8 inches of snow. And we're still putting those first priority streets with high traffic, emergency response, and protected bike lanes to get to pavement, meaning we're clearing it down to the road or sidewalk within 12 hours. But because we have more snow to deal with, we're getting to those other areas like those shoveled stops, multi-use paths and connections, moderately steep streets within 24 hours. So our crews just need a little bit more time to get down to the bare pavement. The large events, obviously, we've all lived through those if we've been in Colorado or Boulder for enough years. They're rare, but they're big, and those when they're 8 inches or more. And so we continue that initial commitment for those high traffic, high transit, emergency response protected bike lanes within 12 hours to get down to bare pavement. But then those other routes, those steeply graded streets, moderately graded streets, and transit stops, those are going to be cleared anywhere from 24 to 48 hours, depending again on up to 8 inches and how clearing that first priority set of streets are. And then finally, the least priority streets, some of those less steep streets that we've committed to trying to clear, those would be up to 48 hours later. So it's trying to take a targeted approach based on how much snow we get, but also reconciling with the effort it takes to really provide that clear system.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
Any questions for Melanie?
Excuse me, sorry.
Okay, I just want to thank you, Melanie. Is there any feedback that you are collecting from the public or any like surveys that you want to share? Or is
Yeah, so I didn't touch on it here, but we always have something going on in the city transportation system. So we do have, I know this was referenced a little bit earlier, we have another employee survey. I shared our last one with you as a data set, but as we understand how people traveling around the community are selecting how they get around and the issues that's really helpful for us to continue planning. We also know micromobility gets to be a high concern. That can be those Lime scooters, V-cycle bikes, and how they move and are parked around the city. So we have a survey open for that. I can drop that link into the chat. We always are happy to have more information from the community on that. And then, yeah, just reach out if you have any questions or want to talk about accessibility and transportation mobility.
great, thank you, Melanie.
Thanks for the invitation, Angel. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, no problem.